Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. Today's podcast is going to be on types of relationships. And as usual, I will start this podcast off with a quote. Life is a success. Life is a succession of lessons which must be lived to be understood. And that's a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. This podcast is being posted a little bit later than usual. I tried to wake up this morning and record the podcast earlier, but my daughters decided that they wanted to wake up and be full of energy and was not giving daddy the peace or the time or space he needed in order to create the podcast. So I'm posting a little bit later than I should. Also, looking at the podcast and how things worked out between the episodes and stuff like that, I definitely should have posted this podcast after the episodes entitled Relationships, because it basically talks around the same subject matter. It's just a different perspective. And it goes more in depth into the types of relationships that we have in reference to like our environment and the people that we live with, interact with, and make daily exchanges with. Um, I use the examples that I got while doing my research, like which basically involves like an organism to its community, but there are correlations that you can make between relationships between people, one another. Um, some of them may stand out, some of them may be more complicated than others. But if you pay close attention and look closely, you can make those correlations, make those connections. And as usual, it's just something that I'm creating to kind of, get you thinking in a different direction. Maybe hear some information that you may not have heard before and, get you looking at a little bit deeper into something, a subject matter, a topic, a point of view, just shed some light on some new information. So hopefully this falls on ears of people who will be receptive to it. And let's dive in. So as I stated just prior to jumping into this podcast, we've already discussed the podcast on relationships or information on relationships, how having the right type of relationships in your life can be a hindrance or it can be a trampoline to you moving towards your goals and accomplishing your dreams and desires. Having the right relationships in your life can be extremely, extremely, extremely beneficial or detrimental. If we have, just speaking of relationship wise, if you have the wrong significant other in your life, that could be a huge hindrance to you moving forward, or it could be an addition, a welcome addition to your life, and they can enhance your drive and help you accomplish your dreams and your goals in more than one way or another. This also goes for good friends, and also being surrounded by good company, the people that you daily interact with, and you daily seek for advice and seek to provide that structure in your life of people who are dependable and accountable and can help you become that person that you want to be in order to accomplish your goals. Um, it's all about the things that we have surrounding us. Like if you want to live healthy, or if you don't want to, indulge in fatty foods or unhealthy foods, then don't buy those foods in the first place. Don't put them in your house and surround yourself with them so that your ease of access is there to get the food. Same thing with people. If you don't want to smoke, don't surround yourself with smokers. If you don't want to drink, don't surround yourself with drinkers. If you want to become a millionaire or a businessman or an entrepreneur, surround yourself with those type of people. Your relationship to your environment is what's going to help you grow or stay the same. Just like a plant, if they're planted in the dirt provides them nutrition and they're getting plenty of sunlight and stuff, they're going to grow into a big plant. But if the plant is just thrown in some dirt that's not full of nutrients, it's not getting water, it's not getting sunlight, then it's not going to grow to its full potential. We all have potential in us, but it's all about the type of environment that we surround ourselves in, which could be the environment that you create for your brain, like having books, studying, being studious, having people around you who are studious, the environment that we have for our spirit, like again, reading, spiritual knowledge, meditating, praying, focusing and getting your body and your mind right. And then there's like the physical knowledge, like going to the gym or your physical environment, like going to the gym eating healthy and having the right diet and the proper, health habits for the body that you want to have in your life. So relationships can mean more than just your relationship with another person. It can also mean your relationship with your environment. And that's what this podcast is more so focused on. Everything is linked together, and human interaction resembles nature. So everything is everything. They say that there's nothing new under the sun. Um, that applies to everything that we talk about. You can, if you look around your environment, if you look at nature, you'll be able to see that the things that we talk about are exhibited in nature. Like we talk about the principle of polarity, like balance and yin and yang. um we say you can't have the good without the bad. Well, if you look outside, you can't have daylight without nighttime. You can't have up without down. That's gravity. You can't have speed without drag, just to complicate things and be a little bit nerdy. So if we look around us in nature, like all of these principles that we talk about, that we discuss, there are examples of them in nature. And the example of the different type of relationships we can have with our environment and the people within them is another thing that we could take from nature. Scientists have gone further, as scientists like to do, and classified these relationships and gave them names and definitions and you know situations in which they apply. Some of which we may be familiar with, and others not so much. Um, so this is what my research I found in my research. Organisms occupy what are called niches. A niche includes the physical space in which they live, how they use the resources that are in that space, and how they interact with other organisms in that space. Again, their relationship to their environment. So a niche is basically, you have to, how like people say you have to get in where you fit in, you got to find your niche in this world. It's the same thing. A niche is just how an organism interacts with its environment, its relationship to its environment, the people around him, the places around him, the sounds around him, the energy around him, the visible and invisible forces that are acting on that person, that organism is important, and how that organism interacts within the world, within that environment, and how he develops in that environment and within that environment. And these interactions among organisms within or between overlapping niches can be categorized into 5 types of relationships. So these are the 5 type of relationships that can exist within a niche, between an organism and his niche. There's a competition, a predation, a communalism, a mutualism, and a parasitism. So basically a competition, a predator-prey style relationship, a communalism, which is like a common relationship, a mutualism, which is like a mutual relationship, and a parasitism, which is basically like a parasitic relationship. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into each one of those as well. So a competition is when individuals or populations compete for the same resources and can occur within or between species. When organisms compete for a resource such as food or building materials, it is called consumptive or explorative competition. When they compete for territory, it is called the interference competition. When they compete for new territory by arriving there first, it is called the preemptive competition. And basically, if you look like over history and over the world, and even in present day society, this is how people exist in the world, by and large. Back in the old days, we used to go to war, and it was a competition for life or death of one factor against another, fighting for dominance over land, a kingdom, in defense of a kingdom, for many various reasons. But it was a competition nonetheless, for resources, for gold, money, power, mostly for power. But again, this, as in nature, so in the real world. So we're discussing, competition in the realm of organisms in their niche, but also we're comparing it to the real world. So we already used the example of war. Um, you can also see competition style interactions or relationships within people. People who are always in competition with somebody. Like this person is going to get to the money before I do, or this person, I got to beat this person to college, or I got to beat this person to a higher salary, or I got to beat this person to the biggest house. Like you're always in competition with somebody. And at the end of the day, it is good to have competition. It's good to be in competition because sometimes competition brings out the best in us. But at the end of the day, what we have to realize is that the only competition we're really in is a competition against ourselves. And it's the competition to be a better person than you were yesterday, a competition to make progress, to not be in the same place when you go to bed and then wake up and be that same individual, or be where you were yesterday, not being any better for having experienced the past 24 hours. If this other person wakes up and they beat you to something, or you just lose out for that day, I mean that's just one race. Life is a journey, it's not a sprint. So even if you fall down, you fail, you miss out on opportunity this time, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to succeed or for you to try again in the following days coming. And we never know, when our last day will be on this earth. So it's up to us to make every day an opportunity to be that day. An opportunity to be successful, an opportunity to advance ourselves towards our dreams and our goal, and an opportunity to accomplish our dreams and our goals. I know I talk a lot about, advancing towards our dreams and our goal, but ultimately we want to accomplish our goals. We want to be entrepreneurs. We want to be businessmen, businesswomen. We want to control our destinies, control our times. So we need to be in competition with ourselves, not to lose sight of our goal by being in competition with other people. Because at the end of the day, if you're in competition with somebody else, once you win, you're going to have to seek out somebody else to be in competition with. And like I stated earlier, competition is good, but the true competition that you face is yourself. Every day you wake up, you got to see if you're going to beat your alarm clock up. Every day, you wake up, you're going to, compete. Can I last longer than yesterday? And, being disciplined to not eat the nasty food or those fatty foods that aren't going to serve my diet goals. You got to fight yourself to get to the gym. You've had a long day at work. Do I want to go to the gym? Do I not want to go to the gym? It's always a competition against yourself. And, sometimes yourself's going to win, sometimes it's not, but you just have to be prepared. Taking L's is a part of life. I mean, you're going to have to. You can't be successful all the way through. So the next type of relationship between the organism and its niche is a predation. So a predation is when one organism eats another organism to obtain its nutrients. An example of a predation are owls that eat mice and lions that eat gazelle. Basically, this is a prey and a hunter type of situation. So there's the hunter and the hunted. You go out every day and it's eat or get eaten. It's a very base style existence. It's a very survivalistic type mindset. And we don't have to live in that mindset. It should be a choice, because unless you're like in some type of industry or career field like the military, where if you go out into this unknown territory, you go out past the wire, the safe point, the final safe point that is safe because of the measures that they've taken to ensure that it's safe within that fence. When you go out into the unknown territory, when you go out into the area of operations, it definitely is a hunt or get hunted type mindset, a predator or prey. There we go. I'm sorry, I got tongue twisted. It's been an extremely long day. As you can see in my YouTube video, my eyes are real low. I'm kind of tired, but I made a commitment to do this podcast, to release it every Monday and Friday. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to release it every Monday and Friday, despite the tiredness. So let's get back into it, tongue twisted and all. So it's a predator and prey mindset. So you're going to have to go out there and you're going to have to be your sharpest. You're going to have to be focused on survival while maintaining the discipline to complete your tasks so that you can ensure you return home safely. For us in the business world and in normal, life, it may not always be that. Again, sometimes it's good to have that mindset, because it gets you motivated. You're not lackadaisical. You got to focus on your mind. You got to drive on your mind. But to always be in that mindset is not productive. It doesn't serve you. We're not cavemen, living out in the wild, and we always got to be aware or conscious of the T-Rex that's going to come from behind the rock and eat us. There are dangers that we face on a day-to-day basis. We do need to be aware of our surroundings and the things that we do on a subconscious level, patterns and habits that we built up that we just take to doing without even thinking about it. We need to be conscious of those things because the devil is in the detail. And when we do habits that are not conducive to our growth, that hinders us, that thwarts our growth. So we need to be aware of our environment, be aware of those habits, and change those things to reflect more so the life that we want to live. Even if we're not living it at present, it still reflects the life that we want to live, and we're going to fake it until we make it. So in that sense, you always got to be aware, you always got to be alert. And then sometimes in the jobs or career fields that we choose, that mindset is necessary as well. But it's not always necessary. I know I talk a lot about going to get it, going after it, being hungry, being driven, predator versus prey mindset, go out there and get it, competition. Yeah, all of that is fine and dandy. All of that is good and well, and it is true. You do have to wake up each day with a mindset to go out there and get it, and to be driven, be passionate, and to, just make this day a win, or try to make it a win as much as possible. But you can't always do that. It's not realistic. If you look at any athlete, that's worth anything, anybody you look up to, they work hard, they train hard, but they also play hard, and they rest. Rest is equally as important as working hard and putting in a lot of work, putting in a lot of effort. So rest is another component of this journey that I feel doesn't really get mentioned or get the credit that is due, because rest is just as important as hard work. If you constantly go to the gym and build your muscles, tear your muscles down every day, but you don't give your body the opportunity to rest, you're not going to gain the type of muscle that you're in the gym trying to create or manifest. It's just going to tear your body down. So we have to learn balance, yin and yang. For work, there's rest. You have to account for rest as well. So that's my little spiel on that. The next relationship that we're going to focus on is communalism. So communalism is a relationship in which one organism benefits while the other is neither helped nor harmed. An example of this is the barnacle that grows on a whale and other marine animals. The whale gains no benefit from the barnacles, but the barnacles gain mobility, which help them to evade predators and are exposed to more diverse feeding opportunities. It's you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's basically what that type of relationship is. The barnacle isn't hurting the whale. The whale doesn't care about the barnacle. The barnacle hitches a free ride. Everybody's better for it. It's just the type of relationship where, like you have that friend, like y'all are just friends for the sake of being friends. They benefit from your existence, you benefit from their existence, and you're both better people for knowing each other. That's basically what a communalism is. To sum it up in a relationship that we can contribute or associate between two human beings, because I know they use the illustration of a whale and a barnacle, and I know some people might not be familiar with that barnacle. Plus, we already discussed that, as in nature, so in society, or so in the human world, if we just take a look closer. So that's the relationship between the two. Next is the mutualism. A mutualism is a relationship in which both species benefit. An example of this is an oxpecker bird gains a safe habitat on a rhinoceros' back, and in exchange eats the parasite and insects that would harm the rhinos. For me, when I was doing the research, I feel like a communism and a mutualism are identical with, little differences. Um, just like I did with the friend example, I think that's a good example of both a communalism and a mutualism, because, it this friend benefits from this friend, and nobody is winning more so than the other. It's a mutual or a common relationship between the two people that is beneficial between the two people. Like, nobody is winning over the other person, nobody is losing because of the other person. They're both mutually benefited by knowing each other and having each other in their lives. That's like having, you want to become a millionaire or you want to become an entrepreneur. So you start surrounding yourself with entrepreneurial type individuals. So they're entrepreneurs, you're not asking them for money, loans, you're only asking them for advice. And people who are successful, at least in my experience, they want to give advice. They love to share advice. So you're getting the benefit of their advice. They're getting the benefit of your friendship, the mentorship between the two of you, and all the things that come with that. And basically, you guys are helping each other out. You may be aware of the fact that this individual over here is helping you out, but you might not be aware of the fact that you're helping that individual out as well. You might have something that brightens up that individual's life or brightens up that individual's day, and you might not even know it. You might come out of the relationship even teaching that individual something about life or relationships that they may not have known, or it hasn't been a lesson that they've learned yet in life, and you were meant to interact with that person in order to teach them that lesson or show them that path in life. So mutualisms and communalisms are relationships that we should seek out. Nobody is better for it. Like, you grow together. No one person grows because of the other person. It's a relationship in which you both benefit. Everybody at the table eats. And the last relationship is a parasitism. A parasitism is a relationship in which one organism benefits and the other organism is harmed. Examples are tapeworms, bacteria, pathogens, parasites, and other diseases. Now, this is the relationship I was talking about where one person grows and the other person doesn't. That's a parasite relationship, a parasitic relationship. Much like the body, might harbor a disease such as cancer or a tapeworm, and the tapeworm benefits from its existence within us. We don't benefit from its existence within us. Like, it takes nutrients from the food we eat. It takes nutrients from our body as a whole. The same thing can happen in a relationship. Like, if you're not careful with the type of people that you put around you or that you have around you, it can result in a parasitic relationship. They can steal your joy, they can steal your happiness, your money, your time, all the stuff that's important to you. And some things that you can't get back, like your time, they can steal those things if you're not careful. And that's why we got to be careful about the company we keep. And the reason for this podcast is just to spark your mind a little bit. Like, when you look at your life, when you have time by yourself, you can't sleep and you're just up during the night, and maybe you're listening to my podcast. I hope you're listening to my podcast, and you just look back over some of this stuff and you're like, man, what type of relationships do these people really fit in my life? Is it a competition relationship? Is it a predatory relationship? Is it a communalism? Is it a mutualism? Is it a parasitic style relationship? Like, are these people here to help me or to hurt me? Are they for me or against me? And that's important to decipher, because then you can decide how to place people in your life to best benefit you. Like, some people you can hold closer, while others you can hold farther away, keep them at arm's distance, because they may be good friends, but they just might not be friends that you can hang around with all of the time. Because if you hang out with 5 alcoholics, the chances are that you're going to become the 6th. So the company that we keep is very, very important. And knowing the type of relationships we have with the company that we keep is equally as important, because we can only grow to the benefit of our environment. If our environment is heavy in nutrients, water, sunlight, we get tended to daily, the weeds are kept away from us and stuff like that, we're going to grow as big and as vast as our potential allows us to grow. But if we're not careful about the type of soil that we plant ourselves in, if we're not careful to get enough water and to get the nutrients we need, to get enough sunlight, and we let the weeds overgrow us, then we're not going to live up to our potential. We're going to get just put in a situation that's not conducive to growth. And at the end of the day, the competition that we're in is to grow each day. It's to chase growth. And we want to grow as much as possible each and every day. And a great way to do that is by putting the relationships that we have into these categories that we've been given today.